I think it would be important if we're talking about this huge gathering of all of the major imperialist countries of the West and their military machine to draw some conclusions, some lessons from this enormous meeting that they planned 2 years ago and announced a year ago. It was a big extravaganza. They brought in 10,000 people. There were the heads of state of 60 countries, 26 of them members of NATO, and then many other countries who dared not be left out and sent their presidents and members of parliament and cabinets, along with the top generals of all the NATO countries. A couple of thousand journalists who registered. So what's the message that they're trying to put forward with an extravaganza like this? This is really the ruling class, and it takes a lot of concentration. And if we could draw one conclusion from it, I think we would say that this system has no solution to the capitalist crisis that is racking it. And they have no intention of putting forth any solution except fear and repression. That's what, I mean, to call a NATO meeting in a major city, and really what is the home base for Obama, with his former chief of staff, who's now the mayor, and in great part was in that position in order to help carry out this NATO meeting. And then what was the message that they brought to Chicago? Fear. Be very afraid. And that was the message for months in the media beforehand. It's really shocking. I mean, Chicago is a major city. It was the second, third largest city in the country, center of industry. Now, with a year's notice, and this is true for cities around the world, if there's a year's notice or several years' notice before a big event, then everything is rolled out. There's all kinds of jobs programs and cleanup and new buildings built and all kinds of things, highways, subway, all kinds of things to put that city on display. In Chicago, instead, it was close the schools, close the dorms, move up graduation early, get young people out of the center of the city, give them no reason to be there, and then start to announce that subway lines and bus lines would be closed, that there was such a grievous terror threat, and that anyone who came downtown would face bag checks. You couldn't carry a backpack, people were told. You couldn't have more than 3 ounces of water. Everything would be confiscated, and so on. So just think about that as a message for weeks and weeks, months beforehand. Now, when I say every police agency, of course, it's the entire city police force, it's the Cook County force, it's the state police, it's the National Guard, there's regional, there's Homeland Security and the FBI and the Justice Department and plainclothes, and they're announcing at every step that they're going to have gas and machines that make sonic booms that could deafen you, and vans and trucks, lines of snowplows, to create walls and barriers, helicopters, cops that are dressed like turtles, they have so much, armor on them, horses, and they're encircling all the different squares. And in the week before the demonstration, that's even the images in the media that they're showing again and again. That they're predicting that there would be mass arrests, that old jails are being opened, that they're expecting massive violence, all manner of unknown terror threats, and all of it to create a fear of the protesters. Now, we would want to draw certain conclusions from this. In the face of this much fear, put forth in the media, you would well imagine that the masses in Chicago would be angry or fearful to the demonstrators. But I think for all of us who were there, and for the friends and activists and all those who lived there, they found a totally different experience, that you couldn't go anywhere if you had a sign, a button, and you seemed to be part of the demonstration without having an overwhelmingly friendly response. Overwhelmingly. But the fear-mongering and the violence baiting did have one effect, and that is that it did act as a break from the masses, the general masses, joining this demonstration in the tens of thousands. This is a time when they say less than 7% of the population here supports the war in Afghanistan. 7%. They probably really have to go looking for them. But, you know, I don't think that there's a war that has been more totally unpopular. So it was clearer as the week went on that the fear-mongering was not to break the political activists and the movement from coming, but it was an all-out effort for the average worker who was interested in all this to make it seem beyond their capability to get downtown. They were told the roads would be closed and the buses wouldn't be operating, the subways wouldn't be there, and there would be waits for hours, and it would be extremely dangerous. All kinds of other things happened. Even the wrong information, the wrong time of the gathering, and so on, was put forth again and again. Wrong places, wrong information. Now, just in terms of evaluating some of the accomplishment, therefore, in the light of all this, and to say that the International Action Center had been very much part of this process for the year leading up to, from the first moment it was announced that NATO would be meeting in the U.S. as part of UNAC, United National Anti-War Coalition. There was immediately a statement put out saying, regardless of where it is, we will organize a demonstration. At the time, we thought it would be someplace way out of the way. Maybe they would choose Utah or Nevada, or someplace very difficult to get to. And the day that they announced Chicago, immediately we were in touch, and groups there took out an immediate permit on several days and several places to make it clear that there would be a demonstration. And that was very important. It said an immediate message. If NATO is coming, we will be part of the mobilization there. A very important local coalition called CANGATE, Coalition Against NATO and the G8. Originally the G8 was to be meeting. Coalition Against NATO and the G8, War and Austerity, developed. And this was an important coalition. I want to say also, because initially a lot of the movement was not for there being a demonstration. They felt it was impossible, adventurous, and so on. And particularly, for example, on the UFPJ lists, it went on over a period of months of kind of violence baiting the effort to have a demonstration, demanding that the organizers make pledges of nonviolence, as if we're ever responsible for violence. Here we are against the war machine that commits violence against the entire world. So there was a great deal of that, of those who also felt that the masses wouldn't be interested in this, wouldn't know what NATO was to begin with, and that there should be a small conference on what a NATO free world would look like, but this was not a mass issue.